Good morning, dear students. I hope I am audible. Okay, well, friends, I hope you have already been through the video that I have posted on YouTube. So, where we'll get to know some basics about Hilbert transform. Anyhow, we'll have a quick recap of the same in this session, where we'll get to know what Hilbert transform is all about, its mathematical part, as well as formulas to calculate Hilbert transform in time domain as well as in frequency domain. So let me share my screen. So these are the prescribed textbooks for your digital communication. The very first textbook is Simon Hyken, and the title of the book is Digital Communication Systems. So you're supposed to take copy of this from your library, or I have posted soft copy of the Simon Hyken in our Google Classroom, and you can find this soft copy in our Google Classroom itself. And I'll upload the other textbook also, that which is by the name John G. Prokis. So the title of the textbook is Fundamentals of Communication System. Anyhow, I do also have soft copy of this textbook, and I'll be posting it soon, right after the class in your Google Classroom. So you're supposed to refer these two textbooks. You're supposed to refer these two textbooks, or if you're willing to go for VTU authors, you can go for Ganesh Rao, Digital Communication textbook. So let's see what Hilbert transform is all about. So the Fourier transform is particularly useful for evaluating frequency content of an energy signal, or in a limiting case that of a power signal. As such, it provides mathematical basis for analyzing and designing. So Hilbert transform forms the very basic while designing frequency selective filters for separation of signals on the basis of their frequency content. Another method of separating signals is based on phase selectivity, which uses phase shifts between pertinent signals to achieve a desired separation. A phase shift of special interest in this context is that of plus or minus 90 degree. And we have seen that this Hilbert transform won't change the domain. It will not or won't change domain. So this Hilbert transform won't change the domain, but the only change it does is onto the frequency component. It does make some change onto frequency component of that signal. So that is, it brings plus or minus 90 degree phase shift. And depending upon whether the frequency is greater than zero, that is whether the frequency is positive or whether the frequency is negative, that is lesser than zero, will have this plus or minus 90 degree. So in general, we say plus or minus, but it applies in the other sense. In particular, when the phase angles of all the components of a given signal are shifted by plus or minus 90 degree, the resulting function of time is known as Hilbert transform of the signal. The Hilbert transform is also called as quadrature filter. It's also called as quadrature filter. It is so called to emphasize its distinct property of providing a plus or minus 90 degree phase shift. So in general, if I take up any signal like x of t, right now you can see that this x is a function of time, meaning the signal that I have considered is right now in time domain. So this signal right now is in time domain. And when we make this signal to pass through this Hilbert transform, so we'll end up with Hilbert transform of that signal, that which lies in the same domain, that which lies in the same time domain, because you can see that still this x is a function of time, but the only thing is we are having this additional cap of x. So where this cap indicates Hilbert transform. Hilbert transform is indicated using this cap. So such is our Hilbert transform. So this Hilbert transformer, because it's a system, because this entire thing is a block, or in other words a system, it should have its own impulse response. It should have its own impulse response. And this impulse response is denoted by either small h of t or capital H of t. So any system that we take should contain its own impulse response. So it's called as impulse response because we can get this h of t function when my input signal is an impulse signal. And what is this impulse signal? Delta of t. So delta of t is a signal that which is only defined at t is equal to 0. That which is only defined at what value? At t value equal to 0, such that its area, if I try to calculate the area of this impulse function, it will be equal to what? 1. So integration starting from negative infinity to positive infinity of dt indicates area under the curve. This is area under the curve. Even though you might think that where is any sort of curve, so here it so happens that this impulse function, people usually tend to say this impulse function delta of t is straight away equal to 1, that which is a wrong convention. But this one that which we are trying to denote is the area value. So impulse function has area equal to 1 and not amplitude equal to 1. So its amplitude is infinity. Its amplitude is equal to infinity. Okay. So here by now we did got to know what impulse response is all about. So impulse response is indicated by h of t, and this impulse response of any system can be got by passing input signal that which is equal to, when x of t is equal to this impulse function, we'll end up with some output that which is equal to h of t, and we'll call this as impulse response because the system is responding to that impulse function input. Okay, now let's try to find impulse response h of t of Hilbert transformer with transfer function h of f. So only thing is, if I make this, so this impulse response right now is time domain, and if I apply Fourier transform onto this, if I apply Fourier transform onto this, I'll end up with transfer function and I'll call it as h of f. And you can see that right now, because of applying Fourier transform onto this signal that which is in time domain, there is a change in domain from time to frequency. So right now this is frequency domain. Now here, let's try to make an attempt to see or find out how exactly this h of f looks like. So for time being, let's consider the relationship between signum function and unit step function. So there is a function, there is a kind of signal called as signum function. This is the short form for signum, signum, signum function. So this signum function can be thought of as a signal, because right now it's a function of time. Let's consider the signum function in time domain. So this signum function has amplitude value equal to +1 for t greater than 0. For t greater than 0, its amplitude is equal to 1, whereas at time equal to 0, you can see that this vertical line that which indicates its amplitude is equal to what? This value is straight away equal to 0 at t equal to 0. At t equal to 0, its value is 0. And when t is lesser than 1, t lesser than 1 means we are on the left hand side of this axis, time axis. So that which indicates negative time. So during which its amplitude, it takes amplitude value equal to -1, that which is indicated down below this y axis, that which is amplitude in this case. So such is our signum function. Now, how can I relate this signum function with that of this unit step function, where u of t is called as unit step function? And how exactly unit step function looks like? So unit step function can be thought of as just a minute. Let me open up my whiteboard. So right now we want to see how exactly unit step function looks like. So unit step function is a function that which starts at t is equal to 0 and whose amplitude value is equal to 1. Because of that, it's called as unit. Unit means +1 amplitude. So we can think of this as u of t. So u of t is a signal that which starts at 0 and it keeps on, and it lies in the same amplitude value till t is equal to infinity. So you might have studied this in your signals and system course. Okay. Now, in order to get signum function, that which is like this, so right now we are in an attempt to get signum function that which takes on +1 for t greater than 0 and -1 for t lesser than 0. This is the case. Now if I compare these two, what similarities am I having between these two? Now I want you guys to compare between these two. Now can you tell me the similarities between these two signals? Anyone who can unmute their mic If anybody is willing to unmute their mic and speak up a bit, all I want is I want you guys to compare between unit step function and signum function and let me know what similarities am I having between these two signals. What similarities am I having between these two signals over here? Okay, let it be. Now here, for t greater than 0, you can see that both u of t and signum of t are having value equal to positive 1. And but the only thing that which is missing in unit step function is it is not defined for t lesser than 0. It is not defined for t lesser than 0. So I got to somehow add up. I got to somehow add up this negative part. I got to somehow add up this negative part of signum function into this unit step function. So this is of what amplitude value here? This is equal to -1 over here. So let me forcefully bring one more additional component that which is -1 onto this. Let me bring some additional component onto this u of t minus 1. Now let's see how exactly this -1 looks like. Or let me draw this separately. So if this is time axis, now -1 can be thought of as a DC signal that is independent of time right now in this case. Right now you can see that if I were to plot this -1, I got to go down below this y-axis. So this is -1 amplitude and this is constant for t lesser than 0 or t greater than 0. So now let's try to do this. What we are supposed to do? We are supposed to see how exactly u of t minus 1 would look like. Let me subtract these two signals, or in other words, I can also rewrite this equation as u of t plus minus 1. So now let me add these two signals. When I add these two signals, what happens? So here unit step function is not defined for t lesser than 0. Anyhow, this entire thing that which is defined at t lesser than 0 will still hold good. So back at our result, if I think of this to be some y of t equal to u of t minus 1, now I'll get this part because of this -1. And whereas for t greater than 0, so this is having what amplitude value? This is having -1 amplitude value, whereas this unit step function is having +1 value. So they both will cancel out and we'll end up with this horizontal line that which is overlapping on this time axis. So, and this is not resembling our signum function. So now what we can do is here, in order to retain this u of t part, before I use this u of t, I'll associate it with an amplitude value equal to 2, such that this is no longer unit step function because it's getting multiplied by 2. So its amplitude changes to 2. Now let's try to add up these two signals. Now here, what's the amplitude value that I'm having? It's equal to 2. So 2 minus 1 is, what is 2 minus 1? 2 minus 1 is plus 1. And in fact, we'll end up with our actual desired signal, that which is signum function. So signum function can be thought of as this y of t is nothing but signum of t, that which can be got by, so here before I use this u of t, what should I do? I should multiply it by 2. So 2 times u of t minus 1 is nothing but our signum function. This is the relationship between signum function and unit step function. And I can also have this, I can also have one more relation between unit step function and signum function, that which can be thought of as like this. So this is u of t. This part is only defined for t greater than 0. Likewise, if I were to draw u of minus t, what I'll get? I'll get exact mirror image on to the left, that which is having amplitude value +1. But do I need +1 amplitude value for the negative time? For negative time, do I need this? No. So what I'll do is I'll multiply this with minus sign. I'll multiply this entire signal with minus sign, such that this thing gets reflected horizontally somewhere over here, because right now we are changing its amplitude value by multiplying, by associating this negative u of minus t, such that we'll end up with this signal. So minus u of minus t is equal to this. Now if I add up these two signals, if I add up these two signals, because this u of t is only defined for t greater than 0, and minus of u of minus t is defined only for t lesser than 0. If I add these two, I'll get for t lesser than 0, I'll get this signal for t lesser than 0, and for t greater than 0, I'll get the other signal for t greater than 0, that which exactly looks like. So u of t minus u of minus t is again as good as signum function. Is as good as signum function. So we are having two sorts of relationship between signum function and unit step function. One is this, the other one is signum of t is equal to 2 times that of unit step function minus 1. So here let me consider this for time being. Let me consider this for time being. Now here, so I hope you got to know this relationship that which I have written. So for time being, let this signal be equal to some x of t, general signal. Now, if I differentiate this signal, if I make it to go through differentiation, let's see what happens. So right now, x of t is equal to 2 times u of t minus 1. And I'm trying to differentiate this signal. And I'm trying to differentiate this signal. That too with respect to time. Now here, we know that differentiation of constant is what? D by dt of some constant value is equal to 0. Now here, if I take up this signum function, it looks like this. For t greater than 0, it maintains a constant value that which is equal to +1. And likewise for t lesser than 0, it again maintains a constant value that which is equal to -1. So thereby, if I differentiate this signum function, I'll get 0 for this entire thing, because here I'm having a constant value from here to here, and again from value t greater than 0, I'm having a constant value. So this entire thing for these two regions, I will be getting 0 as my result. But where exactly is the change in this signum function? The change in the signal is happening right at t value equal to 0. So this is the value, this is the region where I can find a change. So thereby, right after differentiating this, I'll get it as, because 2 is constant, I can take it outside of differentiation. d by dt, again d by dt of 1 over here, minus sign in between. So here, if I differentiate this unit step function, I'll end up with impulse. I'll end up with what? Impulse function, that which is delta t. So I'll end up with 2 times that of delta t. And if I differentiate again this constant one, I'll end up with 0 here. So finally, we can get this equation d by dt of x of t equal to 2 times that of delta t. Okay. Now, to this signal, to this entire signal, let's apply, let's make it to go through this Fourier transform. Let's apply Fourier transform. And let me tell you, if I apply this Fourier transform, what happens? When I apply this Fourier transform, what happens? There is a change in domain. There is change in domain. So from where to where is this change happening? From time domain to frequency domain. So this is Fourier transform. Likewise, if I were to get back from frequency domain to time domain, I got to apply inverse Fourier transform. And this Fourier transform is given as capital X of omega is equal to integration starting from minus infinity to plus infinity x of t e to the power minus j omega t dt. So this is the formula for Fourier transform. And over here, right now, we are not directly applying this Fourier transform onto the signal. We are having something in between. What is that? Differentiation. And you might have studied Fourier transform, that too, specifically what happens if we are having a differentiated signal. So if we apply, if you remember, we know that. So we know what? We know that if we apply Fourier transform onto d by dt onto some differentiated signal, so this is as good as this is equal to, so I'm not supposed to write like, okay, this is equal to 2 pi jf of capital X of f. So now here d by dt, because of this d by dt, we are getting this right after applying Fourier transform. And this time function x of t, is getting converted to frequency domain. So in order to indicate this frequency domain, you can see that we have used capital X. In time domain, we are representing that signal with small x, but for frequency domain, we are using this capital X. Okay. So because of this property, if I apply d by dt onto this, if I apply Fourier transform onto this differentiated signal x of t, I'll end up with this. And in a similar way, Fourier transform of this impulse function, Fourier transform of this impulse function is equal to 1. Now let's see how exactly is this equal to 1, because by now you would have forgotten how exactly we'll end up with this. So let me consider. So what is our signal right now? X of t is equal to delta t. And what is Fourier transform? Fourier transform is f of, sorry, capital X. Let me consider capital X omega in turn equal to integration starting from negative infinity to positive infinity x of t e to the power minus j omega t dt. So this is the formula. Now in the place of this x of t, let me substitute our actual function, that which is delta t. Now I have substituted this function and let's try to integrate this. Now before I integrate this, what is this impulse function? So this impulse function again by definition is only defined at what value of time? It's defined at t is equal to 0 only, such that its area impulse function delta t of dt is equal to 1. So this is the impulse function. And we also know one more property. You might have forgotten that, but still I'll be writing this property, that is, if I take any signal x of t, if I take up any signal x of t, and if I try to multiply that with impulse function that which is defined at some other value of time, that which is t naught. You got to be careful over here. Right now this delta of t, this delta is not just defined at t value equal to 0. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to shift this such that I'll consider some time instant t naught, such that this entire thing shifts and is defined only at what value of t equal to t naught. So this is how it looks like. Or if I rewrite this, so right now delta t minus t naught is defined at what value of time instant? T equal to t naught. Earlier it was defined at t value equal to 0. This is just delta of t, but right now I am trying to write delta of t minus t naught. So this is as good as shifting the impulse response onto the right on time axis. Okay, so I've taken such kind of impulse response, and if I multiply it with any signal that is equal to x of t, this in turn equal to x of t naught delta t minus t naught. So right now you can identify the change. It seems what change has happened. Earlier this I had this function x of t, but right now this function has changed its value to time instant t naught. So we know this property. We got to recall this property, and let's make use of this property back over here. Now I can map this e to the power minus j omega t onto this x of t. Right now I can map this e to the power minus j omega t onto x of t, such that here for this delta of t, what I'll do is I'll rewrite it in this fashion. Now tell me, can I rewrite this delta of t as t minus 0? Obviously, yes, I can do this because it makes no harm onto my equation. And here, what is x of t? X of t is e to the power j omega t dt. Now, let me rewrite this. So I can map this x of t onto e to the power j omega t. And this is delta t minus, what's the value of t naught right now in our equation? It's equal to 0. Now I got to replace this entire function, that which is e to the power minus j omega t, with t value equal to what? T naught, and t naught in this case is 0. So e to the power minus j omega 0 delta of t. Now anything to the power 0 is what? It's equal to 1. And in fact, we'll end up with this value itself. So anything to the power 0 is equal to 1. So in fact, we'll end up with delta of t. So this entire thing boils down to just delta of t dt, integration starting from negative infinity to positive infinity. And this is as good as what? Area under the curve. And area under the curve of impulse response is what? It's equal to 1. So because of this, we can say that Fourier transform of impulse function is equal to 1. Okay, now here we did got to know about the Fourier transform of this. So it's equal to 1. And in fact, I can rewrite this above equation as what? Equal to 2 into 1. Now, what is this x of f actually equal to? Capital X of f actually equal to? For that, I got to cross multiply this part onto my right hand side such that I'll end up with 2 by 2 pi jf. And in fact, I can cancel out 2, that which is on my numerator and my denominator, and will get this as equal to 1 by j pi f. So in fact, capital X of f is equal to capital X of f is equal to 1 by j pi f. So we are getting this because of what? We are getting this because of earlier we had considered signum function in time, and if I make it to pass through this Fourier transform, I'll end up with 1 by j pi f. And if I were to find, again, Fourier transform has one more property called as principle of duality. Because of principle of duality, we have this relation, that is, if any function, if there is any time function in time domain, and if I apply Fourier transform onto this, I'll end up with capital X of f, such that if I'm having the same signal, the same sort of signal, capital X of, but the only thing is it's defined in time domain, then if I apply Fourier transform again onto this, I'll get it as X of, so this X is this small x of minus f. So because of this, I'll apply the same thing over here such that I got to change this from here to here. So here I'll change this f to t by t Fourier transform such that here in place of signum, I'll replace it with signum of minus f. And signum is an odd function, such that odd function is something where if I'm having something like x of minus f, it's equal to minus of xf. And an even function is something where even I'm having this x of minus f, it should be equal to x of f. But signum function looks like this. Just by looking at its shape, we can make out that it's an odd function. It's an odd function. Signum of f. So I can take out this negative sign outside. So minus signum of f j pi t, and over here 1 by pi t j minus j signum of f. So so this is from time domain to frequency domain, that is Fourier transform. Or in other words, if I look back from this end, so I got to apply inverse Fourier transform, and in fact we'll end up with 1 by pi t. So here the impulse response of